Hi, this is Erica Merrill, and I am the founder of Perfect Legal Video. And I'm very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a family law firm in the Worcester area, and she is with us today. We're going to pick a topic in celebration of Father's Day. So, welcome, Nicole. We are looking forward to hearing about paternity situations.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So a lot of people have kids out of wedlock. If you are a father and you want to try to get your name on the birth certificate, what's the process for that?
Well, in an ideal world, you're at the hospital and you're signing the birth certificate right there when the child's being born by the nurses and the doctors that are coming in and saying, here, mom, sign this, dad, sign this. And that's great. Sometimes that doesn't happen though. So that's the easiest and most proficient way to do it.
I mean, that makes sense. And that's in a perfect world, which we know we do not live in. So when should you sign the birth certificate?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to, you should sign in the hospital and hopefully you're there and you're seeing the birth because that's a special time. And every father should have that right to see that. If it's not, then obviously you can go down to City Hall shortly after the child's born when the birth certificate's issued, and you can sign what is called an acknowledgement of paternity that essentially says you are acknowledging that you are the father of this child. So you do have other options available, but that's the easiest way to get your name on the birth certificate post birth and post hospitalization.
So you just answered a whole bunch of questions for me on, getting a name on the birth certificate and when you should. Now, a lot of people are concerned about their rights as a parent if they're not together. And if you're the father, sometimes that question is a little murky. What rights does a parent have?
Well, unfortunately, fathers have zero rights unless your name is on the birth certificate. So unless you sign that acknowledgement of paternity or sign that birth certificate, you've got zero rights because you're not the father. We know who mom is because mom gave birth. We don't know who dad is, and we don't care because you've got no rights until such time that either a court has adjudicated you the father or that you sign that birth certificate or the acknowledgement of paternity. Then after that, you will have rights. The question is how many rights you will have and what that looks like. And the reality is we're going to at least start with the presumption that you have equal rights as the mother. Problem is it's not necessarily so because there's a lot of factors. What if you're signing or being adjudicated the father and the child's 5 years old? Well, you're not going to get the same rights. You haven't been in the child's life for the last 5 years, or why haven't you signed it? So those are the things that the court's going to look at versus, hey, this child is 6 months old and we ran into court and we just did it a little late. And oh, by the way, we've been living together. Well, again, those are the factors that the court's going to look at. So you will have rights. We just don't know how extreme or how equal they will be until such time that we know what your particular facts are.
And with everything, it seems like this is a really big process. And I would say that if you're going through something like this, you should absolutely get an attorney. And if you're in the Worcester area, you should use Nicole Reeves Lavallee because her and her team are amazing. But just a quick question. I mean, whether you have an attorney or not, this sounds like it's going to take a little time. How much time do you think it typically takes to get to the bottom of all this and get your rights straightened out?
Really depends on what's going on with both parents. Are you contesting paternity? Are you not sure, but you think you're the father, but you have questions? Are you saying unequivocally, I'm the father, and as a result, are you and mom in agreement in terms of what you want the schedule to look like and what rights you're supposed to have? Or are we going to fight about every single thing? When you get to see the child, what the child's supposed to be fed, how often they need to see everyone, what are the holiday schedules look like? So again, we can talk about a whole bunch of stuff that can obviously delay it, or we can have a very short, sweet, hey, we're all in agreement. I like we're all in agreement cases. Reality is it doesn't happen that often. So I would say plan on anywhere from, 6 months to probably 2 years. It's very similar in time frame as a divorce, because we're going to deal with a lot of issues. And again, we need to know where everyone's at, and we also need to know that that schedule is going to work. We don't want to have a schedule in place and realize, oh my God, that was a nightmare. Why did we do that? That's a lot of bouncing back and forth with this child, and we can't do that. That's not beneficial to the child. So sometimes we do it where we're going to have a plan and we're going to see if it works. Does it work in 3 months? Okay, if it now works in 3 months, let's now continue it. Let's go to judgment. So there's a lot of factors that are going to come into play.
I mean, it sounds like it. Well, the really interesting thing is when, you see this on Maury Povich, right? So you want to find out who's the real dad, but I mean, there's testing and all of that. Like, how does that work? What happens if someone's trying to get you to pay for a child that you're not sure is yours?
Then you better speak up now. The simple answer is everyone goes, well, yeah, but she said I was. Okay, well, that's great. But if there's any doubt in your mind, get the test. Now, the problem is it does come with a little bit of a problem. If you're going to ask for a genetic marker test, and my suggestion is, yes, ask for one. Chances are you're not going to be able to see that child that may or may not be yours. Because the judge is going to go, wait a minute, if you're contesting paternity and you want to see if you're the father, then you don't have any rights now, so go away. So I get that it's one of those things you're going, oh, do I really want to give up my time? Well, guess what? If you're not the father and you say you're the father and you don't contest it, then you can't go back. So it's really beneficial, in my opinion, that if there's any doubt in your mind whatsoever, have the genetic marker test. It will take a little bit of time, but then you're going to be, 99.9% certain that you're the father. And then there's no question. Hopefully mom will understand why you're doing it, just to kind of save face, and she'll still allow you parenting time. But, it's one of those things that it's an all or nothing. And you may absolutely love this child regardless of whether it's yours, and you don't need a DNA test. That's fine. But you have to know that that's one and only choice, and you have to make it. And if you don't make it, you have to live by those consequences.
So what can be put in the judgment on paternity? I mean, I know there's so many factors to it, but what's the most common thing?
The common thing is we're going to deal like we would in any other paternity action or any divorce action that has children. Anything that has children, we're going to deal with all those issues. So we're going to deal with the child support. We're going to deal with a parenting schedule. We're going to address who has legal and physical custody. We're going to address holiday schedules, extracurricular activities, even college expenses. So we're going to cover the gamut of all this stuff. And we're going to address who's going to pay for the medical insurance and the uninsured. So literally, it's taking that half of that portion of a divorce situation and saying, we're going to address everything that this child may have to deal with in the next 18 years. And the ideal goal is, again, we're going to set it up so that you two can work together for the next 18 years. But certainly that's the goal, is we're going to add it in and address it once, and hopefully not have to look at it and go back into court again.
Now, I know that as a family attorney, you get probably the most interesting cases. I mean, maybe that in the criminal law, but do you have any, I guess, last words of caution or advice while dealing with a paternity situation?
Again, I'm going to go back to, if you have any doubt, get the genetic marker. Well worth it. Well worth a peace of mind. Realize that you're going to have to deal with this person for the next 18 years. Because if you're a paternity, chances are you're looking at something that is, a year old, 2 years old, nothing more than that. So you've got 16 plus years to deal with this person. Make the most of it. Try to work cooperatively with that person. Try to understand their position. The reality is, guess what? Infants do need more care. They do need more hands-on experience. So yeah, we're not going to say that you get every other weekend and we're breastfeeding. That's not going to happen. We need to have more bonding time. So does dad. So obviously breastfeeding is going to come into play, but maybe we see the child every other day for smaller blocks of time, so that child can bond with dad rather than, hey, who's this complete stranger holding me every 2 weeks? that's not going to be bonding. So the court is going to look at that. The court is going to take into consideration the age of this child, the level of bonding with this child, first and foremost. And so again, you're going to have to look at a schedule that goes, I know what the traditional schedule is. I have 3 other kids. I don't care. We're going to look at those factors, and we're going to determine what's in the best interest of this child and how can we best equip this family to have a loving relationship.
I mean, those are really great words. And honestly, I mean, dads are incredibly important. So make sure that you get the rights that you need to have that relationship with your child. You'll never be sorry. And I want to thank you again for all of this information every week that you give to us, Nicole. This is incredibly helpful for the audience, and we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and I hope we learned something new.
Well, we always learn something new. And thanks everyone out there for watching. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.